All right, hello, welcome to the Modern Thought Room. My name is Jethro. This episode is going to be about information overload, which has definitely taken a turn. That concept has taken a turn because of AI, but something else is happening that I think folks need to be mindful of in order to stay ahead in this modern world. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's get straight to it. All right, information overload. When I say pre-AI in this way, I'm gonna say this loosely because again, trying to keep the video in a reasonable amount of time, right? So I say pre-AI is like pre-AI becoming something that folks are have um made have what is it ingrained has become ingrained in daily living and daily work, right? So pre that. I'm not gonna live here on air give that a date, even though we have all general sense of that, right? So information overload. It's like a sort of colloquial thing that some people have then studied and made an academic thing too, scientific thing, right? Is that we just have so many sources of information, and all those sources are actively producing more information. So if you think personally, interactions with folks, it's creating information. Socially, all social avenues creating information. Professionally, same thing. You go on TV, same thing. You on your phone, same thing. You're outdoors, same thing. For the most part, you will always be around information, right? And that's not, a bad thing. But information overload became a thing where folks are just like, hey, I'm kind of feeling like I'm something is getting lost, right? And the what is getting lost can vary case to case. Um, so we're not necessarily going to speak to what is getting lost. It's not the focus. Okay. Now, one of the things that rhetorical questions that came up out as a sort of result of this conversation about information overload is this kind of rhetorical question of how am I consuming, right? So then folks kind of started thinking about, oh, am I a passive consumer? Am I an active consumer, right? And either one in its own context is fine and correct. That's not necessarily our place to levy assessment on, right? What is the gain? Same thing. What's the gain? What's the benefit for me for all of this information that I have access to? If I'm not getting some sort of benefit from it, is it really a burden? More rhetorical questions, right? Do I feel like I can use this information? Maybe I'm turning the corner and I'm starting to say, this is a lot of information and it has answers to some questions somewhere, and there are opportunities that I'm just not exploiting yet. So that is what we're really interested in this on this platform. One of the things we're very much so invested in is understanding that changing how we think is one of the most immediate ways to bring about different results. And that when you think differently, you'll be able to identify opportunity in a way that you just previously didn't. Right? Back, focus. So there's a lot of stuff going on, right? You have purpose, you have the ability to compartmentalize. So maybe as you're scrolling through Instagram, as you're scrolling through TikTok, as you're scrolling through any of these platforms, right? You may be able to compartmentalize the different types of creators, the different types of information sources that you're getting, and you're using that to the best of your ability or not using it. You just know that you know it and that's good enough for you, right? So, in that context and in the compartmentalization, you have insights, you have misunderstandings, and you have application, right? You have insights, misunderstandings, and application. Insights, misunderstandings, and applications. These aren't the full only spectrum of it, but these are three that I'm choosing to talk about right now. So, information overload. All when you look down that tree, all those rhetorical questions we ask, you get to a place where you're like, yeah, there's some insights that I'm gaining. Yeah, there's some misunderstandings that are happening, and there's some application that can happen. All right, and why is that? Why is all of that important? All right, so if we take a look at the insights, information, if you are properly compartmentalizing information that you're bringing in, you're able to gain insight. Insight comes from patterns that you've observed that speak to truths that you don't necessarily have labeled as a truth, but they speak to a truth in a way that gives you confidence about a conclusion you could make. Right? So, one of the important things about insights is that they give you, in the right rooms and in the right context, they give you a leg up and they give you a perspective, right, that allows you to act on things and move your life forward, whether you're with a team, whether you're individual, professional, entrepreneur, whatever have you. Insights make the difference, right? If you you're if it's a struggle for you to land at what an insight is, I'd be very surprised if you're consistently making an impact. You easily arrive at insights. You probably are making an impact, but even could be undervaluing some of the impact that you could make. Now, misunderstandings, I think that's one of the ones that's more. Celebrated is not the right word, but celebrated is a way that folks are kind of celebrating. People are celebrating misunderstanding, right? And what I mean by that is folks will get on, watch a piece of content, read an article, read a blog, read something, watch something, listen to something, draw the incorrect conclusion, and then say XYZ is, leading to misunderstanding. That is a whole separate thing about how we understand what facts are. I would say, because I'm really pro academics, so like I always kind of give shout out to the academics out there. I think academics are probably some of the best at being mindful and choiceful about what they label as a fact, even when it's like explicit and implicit. I think a lot of people are implicitly labeling stuff as facts that are not facts, that ultimately sets them up to be confused and lead to them misinterpreting information. A lot of things are not facts. A lot of things are supported opinions. And like, I'm not saying this because that's wrong. Like, I'm not, and this is, I'll quickly say this because I think this is something I'll probably end up repeating every episode. Everything, learning stuff and becoming sharper and gaining insight, gaining perspective, in my opinion, it's not to topple everything, right? It's not to rewrite every single thing overnight, right? Every structure, every societal thing. That's not necessarily the purpose, right? The purpose is to put you in a position to do the best that you can and safeguard your future as an individual, as a person that's a member of a family, as a person that's a member of a community, as a person that's a member of a state, etc. Right? That is what, like, that's one of the main things that being able to have some of this perception is. But I know, sometimes it could be tempting to think about how, if it doesn't lead to us just outright rejecting everything, then it's a problem, right? So, very important to understand that, yes, it's going to be difficult to properly understand and weigh everything that you learn and experience, but at the same time, Misunderstanding and judging misunderstandings doesn't necessarily equate ripping up the pages of everything. Okay, so that's just a little to like level set, because I think that's very important, because some people will end up getting disappointed when they gain insight into things. You might be on social media, you might be on some of these platforms, you might be reading things, and you're gaining insight, and you want to act immediately on the insight that you've gained, and kind of aren't yet at a place to reconcile that with the context and see how you can move and how you can move effectively. And that's a core thing we want to work with folks on is, all right, I got all this information, I got this insight, I got this data, I got a context that's on my back like a ton of bricks, but I need to still stand up, sit up straight, and maneuver. And how do I do that? Well, I start thinking a bit better. I start doing the thinking that the modern day requires, because it's not what yesterday required, and it will also change because it won't be the same thing that tomorrow will require. All right. So now we have AI. So first thing was just information overload, naked channel. That's just, one lane. Now we have AI. AI comes in. Folks now have a tool that makes it so that you don't have to go to page 25 on a Google search, right? You have something that will read the read the titles of articles, so you don't have to go read the titles of articles. You have something that will translate articles in another language, so you don't have to go and do basic learning of a language to translate, right? So those are just small capacities, but AI does a lot of good stuff, right? So now it might seem like, oh, I have a tool to help me reduce some of this burden in all the information I have, because AI is not just solely a work thing. People are using AI in capacities for personal things as well. So it's not just solely a work thing. People are also using it personally and socially. All right. So, we're in the day of AI right now, right? We're thinking about how thankful we are that AI can package things and assess things and process things and churn out stuff. And it reduces some of the labor that we have to put in, right? Now, two offshoots of that is, okay, well, this is okay, this is fine. And then the other offshoot, let's kind of slow down. Let's be careful about this, right? So one of the things with AI, and I had this broken down as 2 points, but I'm going to actually kind of focus on one thing here. It's the development of thinking, right? The thinking that goes into how you do things, it's a muscle that needs repetition, that needs reps, right? So getting great at AI is fantastic. Go do it. And at the same time, make sure you are building how you think as well, because if you build this is dramatic, but if you build an AI thing that replaces you, joke's on you, right? Joke's on me, joke's on us. But all right, if you build something with AI that helps you do things more efficiently, but doesn't necessarily supersede what you're contributing, then now you found the sweet spot, right? Because it's ultimately and ideally should just remain a tool, right? So that's a slight mode of caution, but we're looking at it being good, right? So it has an ability to help you build a lot, right? Build a lot of things, and now you're thinking about, what can I use AI to do? And that's a very good question. If you haven't asked that question yet, I'd be concerned for you a little bit. You probably should be asking, what can I use AI to do? So do that. Ask yourself that. What can I be using AI to do? And use it as best as you can. Right now, for building things, it's important to know that as you're building, you're also being mindful of what you're learning and how you're shaping your mind, right? The world is very competitive. The world is very competitive. There will be a post AI time. Don't know what it looks like. Don't know how soon it'll arrive. But there will be a post AI period. What are you building mentally in terms of your capacity to think? What are you building that will outlive AI, right? Not everybody's building things right now. Not everyone is building something right now that will, within themselves, that will outlive AI, right? And that's a scary thing, but that's something to think about. As we're saying, yes, I got this thing that will help me process all this information and save me steps because I'm tired of looking at all these Excel sheets. I'm tired of looking, and it could be better with Excel, but I'm tired of looking at all these Excel sheets. I'm tired of looking at all these articles. I'm tired of looking at all of these tables and things like that. Yes, and at the same time, all right, if I'm using it to do XYZ, how am I making sure that I'm still in a useful place to take advantage of it as a tool and I'm not being ushered out? Right. So that's a whole bigger discussion. That's not necessarily where I want to stay, because, there's, you can talk about that. You can have, that's an offline. Really, I'm going to do my best to not, to, so one, let me say this. If you're gotten to this point and you felt like I might have been fear mongering a little bit, forgive me. Not my intention at all. What I want to say is use AI and make sure you're getting smarter and make sure you're thinking better and make sure you're thinking more dynamically. That's the one thing I should have just said. Think more dynamic. Use AI, think more dynamically, and make sure you know that you're thinking more dynamically and you're growing. And it's not just AI that's doing all of the calculation, manipulation, building, right? So that when we do hit a post AI period, you're already in a place to keep running. Now, post AI period, that could be just like, hey, your team, your boss, your company decided to integrate AI overnight. You guys integrated it. It did some good. It did some okay. Didn't really do too much bad, but it's not the end of the world. We still have to start selling things. We still have to start convincing people. We still have to show folks that we're adding value. Now, who's here amongst those that have helped us build and integrate AI? Who's here that can do that? Who's here that knows how to go and have a very dynamic conversation with somebody to encourage them to, maybe switch allegiances, join us? Who's able to have that conversation to close a sale? Who's able to have that conversation to build a partnership, right? Who's able to see the next need before it's needed? Who's who's able to see why we don't need to run with the AI's recommendation for the next product we should launch, right? All these things are like, high-minded type of questions that we don't necessarily need the answer for, but the mindset is that, hey, while I'm using AI as a tool to help me process all this information that I had in abundance, help me create content. Folks are creating content over because, hey, how do I keep up? All of this stuff, right? I gotta stop kicking the camera. All right. Um, at the same time, it's like, all right, what, how am I building this? How am I building this for a post AI? And post AI doesn't necessarily mean AI is gone. It just means it becomes a norm. It's the normal thing. It's the status quo. Everybody knows, everybody uses. So everybody's getting to a place where we know the ups and the downs and we're not quick to just disregard everything else, right? We don't know what this post AI period will look like, but in a more, granular, small micro level at your place, in your context, you have an idea of what a post AI context could look like. All right, that probably should have been the name of the video: post AI context. And then, if you're still overstimulated even after AI, that's when you just gotta think about, all right, how, like, what am I doing, right? What am I doing with all this information that I have access to? One of the main things you should be doing is archiving, um, archiving. Right. So you can maybe make a bunch of files, folders, and things like that you're saving. But what I really mean is mentally, you're just making a note for stuff, right? You just take a chill, just be like, hey, I noted this. And if you need to physically write it down, you have an AI agent, note it with them, things that you observe. And I'm really, in my mind with this one, I'm really thinking about my people that are creatives, my people that are product designers, my people that have a burden to create something, right? Those are the people I'm thinking about the most with this channel. About, all right, you're still kind of overstimulated by how much is out there and the burden on you to create that there is, right? Because creating is a bit of a challenge, because we live in a what have you done for me now, or what have you done for me recently type of world in life. So yes, you created something cool yesterday, but what are you creating cool for tomorrow? And yes, artists kind of borrow, steal, and all that good stuff, but that's still not enough to sustain, more. There's always more that you have to build. There's always more. Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. My bad. If that like destroyed the mic, I gotta. Oh man. But yeah, when you're creating, there's a lot that is there's a lot that you gotta have to do, and archiving information that you're picking up here and there will ultimately help you piece together something that people haven't seen, because you find value in nuance, and that's where you can make an insightful um, what is that word? An insightful conclusion that then helps you and builds a lane out for you, right? There's no limitation on what can be created, what can be made to meet needs. There are a lot of people on this planet, so like, just because the 10 initial customers you believe might be interested aren't, there are hundreds more that just need to be sold the right thing. The right thing needs to be created for them. So archive, and then use what you archive to build and iterate. Um, Again, creative folks, people are experimenting, grabbing elements, studying elements, and this is something that I kind of spoke to about in a prior video, where there was a segment I talked about trends. And you know as you are going through all of this information, whether it's stuff that you're learning from your personal, social, professional context, and you're archiving it or storing it somewhere here, storing it somewhere physical, and you're using it to build things and you're using it to iterate, know that paying attention to the nuance and building a true series of points that ladder up to a correct conclusion will, for the most part, always show you where opportunity is, right? And that's what is, I think, one of the funny things, or something that's ironic about information overload. Again, while because of AI, the conversation about an overload of, like, being overloaded by information is kind of simmering, because we believe AI can like do everything. And yes and no, but identifying opportunity always is the end goal. If you have a lot of information and you feeling overstimulated, you need to slow down and excuse me. You need to reframe how you are going about archiving the information, conception, like no, compartmentalizing the information, using AI to process the information, all those things, you need to make sure you're doing it with the mindset that if I be patient in this, I will always be able to find a new opportunity, and that new opportunity will provide me some type of security for the future. Right? I don't know exactly what security for the future is going to look like for you, but I would love to hear about it. If you've, through you've overcome a stress or feeling overstimulated by all of the data that you have to work through at work, or all the information you have to consume, or all of the personal data points that come up with interactions with people. If you're in a very social role and you constantly have to meet people, you constantly have to gather data points about people, always in this opportunity out there, ability to identify opportunities starts with thinking differently. Pleasure to work with you guys today. Ciao, adios, peace.